Everybody knows how to develop a quarterback. You're assuming that you're going into a program. I mean, I'm telling you, this is not, there's a lot of people who have no idea what they're doing when they're tasked with coaching a quarterback or calling an offense. So are you saying, I mean, just like we'd rank quarterbacks 1 to 32, do you rank offensive coordinators 1 to 32? Do you rank quarterback coaches 1 to 32? Well, what if you had the 32nd ranked coordinator in someone's mind, or the 32nd ranked quarterback coach? How is he getting a level of development that the guy who's first?
NFL just froze mid-scroll after Tom Brady went full detective mode and called out Cleveland for allegedly sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. You heard that right. Brady, the same guy who treats footballs like Faberge eggs, just dropped a truth bomb that has fans wondering whether the Browns are running a football team or a spy agency. So grab your popcorn, because if Brady's accusing someone of sabotage, something serious is brewing in Cleveland, and it's not just bad play calling.
Cleveland media keep going relentless on Shedeur Sanders. He entitled, distracted, developing slow, can't learn the playbook, not getting practice reps with the scout team, not getting practice reps at all. But what if I told you? Then don't none of that got to do nothing with football. This goes deeper than people realize. If y'all ain't seen the Tom Brady came out on college, this is pertaining to the Browns saying they developing quarterbacks.
The NFL wasn't ready for this one. Tom Brady, the football monk of perfection, just transformed into the league's unofficial accountability officer, aiming his laser focus straight at Cleveland. And of course, it's the same Cleveland that somehow finds a way to make headlines even when they're trying to stay quiet. But this time, it wasn't about a loss, a rebuild, or even a quarterback.
A franchise quarterback, right? In my second year, it's training camp, and we had a very good quarterback coach named Dick Rabine, and God rest his soul, unfortunately, he passed away in training camp and of a heart attack. And it was a very difficult loss for our team. And the way that we found a way to continue on that season is Bill Belichick became more of a quarterback coach than we ever imagined him being a quarterback coach. He was he was obviously a head coach, very involved in defense.
Nope, this time, it was something juicier. Brady accused Cleveland of sabotaging Shedeur Sanders, and the entire league practically choked on its Gatorade. You'd think Tom Brady, the man who could probably lecture a tree on discipline, would be off enjoying retirement, sipping kale smoothies, and pretending to love the quiet yacht life. But clearly, he's not done holding people accountable.
The Browns are actually developing Shedeur, which I told y'all before too. They actions say otherwise. But Tom Brady gonna break it down in how he got developed early on in his career, eventually lead him to 7 Super Bowls. So if quarterback's not getting developed.
But apparently, not even retirement can silence a man who can spot nonsense from a mile away. What Brady saw in Cleveland wasn't just incompetence, it was a full-blown organizational circus masquerading as a football team. According to him, the NFL runs on a strange double standard, where players are judged like contestants on a reality show every single second.
Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance with the play calling. You know you have an offensive line that isn't playing that well. So what do? Why not just play the short game so he can get the ball out of his hands very fast to run a competent goddamn offense? Outside of that, Shedeur has to be better in understanding that the offensive line that you're working with right now is not adequate. Why not allow the players that are competing for a job, in this instance, Shedeur Sanders.
Every throw, every step, every misread, scrutinized like it's a matter of national security. But the coaches, they're treated like untouchable wizards. They can drive an offense straight into a ditch and still get called visionary. Brady wasn't having it. He said what most people have been too afraid to admit. Some of these coaches wouldn't recognize player development if it hit them in the face with a laminated playbook. That's where Shedeur Sanders comes in, a young player dissected more than a biology class frog while his coaches escape all accountability. Cleveland somehow managed to turn his NFL transition into something that looks less like an opportunity and more like a setup. Imagine being thrown into a new system where your coaches treat development like a myth, only to have them question your readiness afterward. It's like being told to bake a cake with no flour, then getting yelled at for serving air. That's Shedeur's reality right now, and Brady wasn't about to let it slide. Meanwhile, Cleveland's coaching staff keeps acting like none of this is on them. They evaluate, they grade, they critique, but when you ask who actually worked with Shedeur, all you hear are crickets. Not one coach willing to admit they invested real time in the kid.
Question about saying Shedeur Sanders, and I'm going to tell you why. I think he's being set up to fail. That's right, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Here we are on national television, right? There's been 11 practices, if I remember correctly. He's been starting against he's been playing against the third unit. He's fourth on the depth chart. And then suddenly you throw him into the start lineup, and he hasn't had any reps with the first team at all. Think about that. So you're just gonna throw him to the wolves like that, huh? I mean, you know, if he had first team snaps in practice.
Apparently, the Browns' idea of development is handing a player a helmet and wishing them good luck. Then, when everything falls apart, they shrug and say, "See? He's not ready." Brady saw right through that nonsense. He knows talent when he sees it, and he also knows when a team's environment is toxic. This is the same man who turned unknown receivers into legends, so he can easily spot when a coaching staff is sleepwalking through its responsibilities. To Brady, Cleveland's problem isn't that Shedeur isn't ready, it's that they never bothered to make him ready. And that's where things get hilariously awkward, because when Brady speaks, people listen, especially the ones he just roasted. The Browns tried to spin the situation with the usual PR talk about competition, evaluation, and development. But those words sound hollow when your so-called development plan looks more like organized neglect. It's ironic, really. Coaches love to preach accountability until it's time for them to face it themselves. Brady essentially compared the NFL's coaching culture to a corporate office where interns get fired for typos while managers get promoted for creating chaos. It's a broken cycle, and Shedeur just happens to be its latest casualty.
That quarterbacking should be easier now. You have personal coaching, 7-on-7 camps. Guys like you and Drew Bledsoe and Troy Aikman have told me, I literally had 8 high school games a year. You're like, I had 40 starts, including high school. Well, guys now have 10,000 snaps by the time they're 14 years old. So I've always said as a sports commentator, I used to give guys 3 years. My argument now is Thanksgiving year 2, the GM, the coach, the coordinator need to go upstairs in a room privately, raise their hands, yes or no.
Truth is, Cleveland's coaching inconsistency has been an open secret for years. One coach claims they're developing a quarterback, another says they're evaluating, and a third probably doesn't even remember the player's name. It's like every staff meeting has a new agenda, and none of them involve actually improving the player. Brady's point hit hard because everyone watching knows it's true. And just when it seemed the story couldn't get any messier, in came Stephen A. Smith, the man who turns outrage into performance art. The moment Brady's comments surfaced, Stephen A. didn't just agree, he exploded. He's been warning for months that Shedeur's situation reeked of sabotage. That's not opportunity, that's entrapment. It's like tossing someone car keys in the middle of a tornado and saying, "Show us what you can do." You can't build rhythm, timing, or leadership when the only teammates you're working with are fighting for practice squad spots themselves.
He makes that call. Why? Because I want the last thing people to see is the mistakes and the sacks that happen and not give him a chance to redeem himself. Because I think probably what would have happened, okay, we can't have Shedeur come in here and finish this 2-minute drive and go down and get a touchdown. We don't want that. And in chat, for those of you who are listening and watching, I'm not making any excuses for him. He played bad. But I can tell you why he played bad. I mean, if you know the game of football and understand the game of football, understand that those that are in there with him during that time.
And to make things even spicier, Louis Riddick stepped in. And when Riddick joins a conversation, you know things are about to get analytical and uncomfortable. He didn't sugarcoat a thing. While acknowledging Shedeur's potential, he tore into the Browns' so-called development plan. According to Riddick, the representatives weren't there, the structure wasn't there, and the intent definitely wasn't there. In other words, the entire process was a farce. He said what fans had been thinking all along: this wasn't development, it was delay. Riddick went even further, pointing out that other young quarterbacks around the league were getting consistent representatives, coaching, and paying for him. That means Shedeur was essentially an orphan within the team. No one fighting for him, no one guiding him, and no one taking accountability for his success. And then came the cherry on top, the moment that made this entire saga feel like something straight out of a football soap opera.
You got nothing to do with the game. Okay, it's all for media clicks. And, he's a heck of a personality, but the personality can't come out until you do something on the field. And, it's a big week for Dylan Gabriel and a big week for the Browns. I mean, making that transition for him even be available to the press. I don't know why he's doing it.
You tell me. You know how that works. Is that the front office? Is that the comms team? Like, who's putting him out? So we're saying it's not really on him. We have to protect him. He's a young player.
Yep.
Why are we making him available?
Exactly. To me, I mean, there's no.
Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, casually admitted he had no idea about Shedeur's signing, none at all. He basically said he left that decision entirely to the coaching staff. But how does an owner not know about his own quarterback being brought in? That's not management. That's negligence in a suit. Suddenly, Brady's comments made perfect sense. How can a player thrive when the people running the show don't even know who's running it? Haslam's confession sounded like someone saying, "Oh, we adopted a kid. Cool, hope he's doing well." That's not how you build an NFL franchise. That's how you build chaos. And if you thought Stephen A. Smith was fired up before, wait until he heard that. He went off like a storm, saying what everyone else was too polite to admit. Haslam's "I didn't know" wasn't ignorance, it was strategy, a convenient way to dodge accountability while pretending to be hands-off. And just like that, another young quarterback story was rewritten before it even began. Brady's outburst suddenly looked less like a rant and more like a revelation. He wasn't just defending Shedeur. He was standing up for every young quarterback chewed up and discarded by systems like this.
Come during the season. Pittsburgh is coming. Baltimore is coming. The real Wolves is coming. Now, I am praying to God that Shedeur gets an opportunity to show what he can really do. And I think that would be probably the best thing for him. But knowing the Cleveland Browns, they dumbass gonna trade.
The league is full of coaches recycling the same tired excuses, pretending to evaluate talent while never actually putting that talent in a position to succeed. Shedeur has become the perfect example of just how broken that formula really is. The irony, of course, is that Tom Brady himself was once in Shedeur's shoes, drafted low, underestimated, and barely given any representatives. The difference was that Brady had a coach in Bill Belichick who, for all his quirks, genuinely believed in developing players. If Brady hadn't been given that opportunity, the world might never have seen the GOAT. That's exactly why his words cut so deep, his living proof that development matters, and he can recognize when a player's being robbed of it. The NFL has created a culture where players get blamed for everything while coaches hide behind buzzwords and empty philosophies. Brady called out the absurdity of letting underqualified coaches decide who deserves opportunity. The league, he implied, feels less like a meritocracy and more like an ego contest with headsets.
I've heard ex-NFL coaches, I've heard media members, meaning like beat reporters, I've heard fans talk about Shedeur. And it's funny, I was on with my buddy Bill Ryder today, and I declared myself as Switzerland. And he's like, well, it sounds like you're more like maybe, I can't remember what he said, but basically that I'm more positive about Shedeur than not. And I was like, well, I think some of my positivity is I look at the kid and I go, skill set wise, I think he has what it takes to be anywhere from the 13th.
I've heard ex-players talk about Shedeur. I've heard former NFL coaches, media members, and fans all weigh in, and it's fascinating. I was chatting with my buddy Bill Ryder earlier and jokingly called myself Switzerland in the debate. He laughed and said it sounded like I was leaning more positive on Shedeur. And honestly, he's right. From what I've seen, the kid's skill set gives him the potential to be anywhere from the 13th best starting quarterback in the NFL. But what's even funnier is that Cleveland's coaches actually thought they could quietly sideline Shedeur without anyone noticing. As if the football world isn't tracking every snap, every depth chart shuffle, every subtle move. Then Brady spoke up, and suddenly their plan looked less like smart management and more like a cover-up. It's almost poetic. Brady, the man who once thrived under structure, now calling out a system that refuses to create it. He's like the retired professor who returns to campus only to find the students still being taught the same outdated nonsense he fought to change 20 years ago. Only this time, the stakes are millions of dollars and one young quarterback's career. And let's be real, Shedeur isn't just some random prospect. The kid's got pedigree, talent, and swagger. He's not merely playing the game, he's trying to redefine it. Meanwhile, the Browns coaching staff will likely survive this storm. They'll hold press conferences, talk about adjustments, and toss around words like growth and learning curve, hoping everyone forgets who really dropped the ball.
If I could go back and do anything, I mean, it's always everything in life if you had that chance, but we don't have the luxury to travel back in time. As a kid, I want to go back and do things differently. So overall, of course, you wish you can, but in the battle of the moment, in the heat of the battle, you want to be that alpha, you want to be that dog, you want to be out there in that final 2-minute drive. So, of course, small things, of course, frustrate, but that's what happens, when you want.
Up in team gear. Judge them by their results, by how well they actually prepare their players. Because at the end of the day, a quarterback's success depends as much on the environment around him as it does on his own skill. The ripple effect of Brady's comments has already begun. Analysts, fans, and even former players are calling out the hypocrisy. How is it that players can lose their jobs after one bad game, yet coaches can destroy multiple careers and still get contract extensions? The imbalance is absurd, and Brady just shined a spotlight on it. When Tom Brady speaks up, it's not gossip, it's a warning shot. He's voicing what players have been whispering for years. Coaching is the NFL's biggest unmeasured variable. You can have all the talent in the world, but if your coaching staff doesn't believe in you, you're doomed before you even take a snap.
Talking about physical talent. The concerns I have about Dillon Gabriel aren't there with Shedeur. Now, I would not have taken him with a number 2 pick under any circumstances. I might have thought about it at 33 or 35. I definitely would have thought about it at 92 over Dillon Gabriel. But the truth is, I don't feel beholden to either of these quarterbacks. We should treat them like scratch-off lottery tickets until proven otherwise. But I'm watching the discourse fall out with Shedeur Sanders. And the latest one's pantomiming, but certainly the one before this was him saying that he feels like he could do better than a lot of starting quarterback stuff you see around the NFL. And that
honestly, if Brady hadn't spoken up, this story might have quietly faded into the off-season fog. But now, the spotlight is on. Every move Cleveland makes with Shedeur will be scrutinized. Every rep, every quote, every decision is under a microscope. They're officially on trial, because when the GOAT calls you out, you can't just brush it off. There's something almost poetic about it all, a reminder of how the league still struggles to protect its own future. The NFL remains a system where politics outweigh progress and loyalty often trumps logic. Maybe it's time the league stopped pretending this is only about competition. The real game, it seems, isn't always played on the field, but behind closed doors, where careers are shaped long before the first whistle blows. And until that game changes, Tom Brady's words will keep echoing through every locker room. Because if coaches can't build their players, maybe it's time we start rebuilding the coaches.